Hello, KMN Nation. Summer in the ministry is busy. Like, busiest time of the year, you desperately need a vacation, but there's so much going on, there's no way you can take a time off. Busy. Summer hits. Families are in and out, so you've designed a special summer series to engage kids, keep them coming back. And your volunteers are in and out as well. So you're staffing rooms, trying to make sure you have enough leaders for every child, and you're filling in where you're needed. Then there's camp. A week where you give 110%, you run on coffee and lack of sleep. But that's just at camp. First, you have to get to camp. And let's face it, no one turns in their paperwork on time. And when you get there, someone inevitably is going to forget something important like socks or deodorant, so you have to make a Walmart run. And VBS, weeks and months of preparation. You're busy organizing volunteers, teachers, registration, decorations, t-shirts. Then VBS week gets here. You're giving 110%, adding thousands of extra steps on your Fitbit. And then you think it's over. But now you have the cleanup from VBS. You have to sort things, store them, clean everything up. And then you've got to get ready for the fall. Before you know it, it's August. And you're sitting back and thinking, what happened to summer? Does this sound familiar to anyone else? How many of you have ever just sat back and thought, where did my summer go? Well, this summer it looks a little bit different for all of us. There's no camp, no VBS. Many of us are not even having in-person children's services yet. Because of COVID, our summers have suddenly opened up a little bit. And I'm sure a lot of you, like myself, are mourning what we're missing out on this summer, despite the busyness it adds to our life. So for my church, camp is a really big deal. We take our 2nd through 6th graders for 5 days of Centra Kid Camp. They love it. It's 5 days of hanging out with your friends, eating junk food until 1 a.m, jumping up and down, praising God. Camp is so much fun, and not just for the kids. I love camp. This would have been my 11th year taking kids to camp. Both of my children, actually, when they were infants, went to camp. And nothing says you love camp like taking a 2-month-old to camp twice. Camp is an amazing bonding experience for your kids to bond with each other and with your leaders. But more than that, I've seen lives changed at camp. Last summer, 2 of our girls in my ministry accepted Christ. And when I got that email this year that camp was canceled, I was heartbroken. And there were tears shed. I am missing camp this summer. So for me, and I'm sure a lot of you, there is a lot less to do on our summer schedules. But just because camps and VBSs and maybe in-person services aren't happening, that doesn't mean we get the summer off. So my challenge to you, don't waste your summer. There are a couple of really important things that you need to be doing. First, you need to be evaluating. When COVID hit and everything shut down, a lot of us found out that the way that we have been doing things might not be the best way that we could be doing things. We were forced to adapt and expand. We were stretched. Maybe we were taken out of our comfort zone. And many of us found out that the way of doing things isn't the best, that there might be a better way to do ministry. So as you begin to reopen and think about what normal looks like or a new normal looks like, I want you to evaluate everything. But start with your vision. What's your goal for your ministry? Is it the same goal, or during COVID, did God open up your eyes and lay something new on your heart? So instead of creating weekly teaching videos or doing weekly Zoom classes, my goal during COVID was to give moms and dads tools that they could use during this really unique period of time where they had their kids with them more. I wanted them to take the lead shepherding their kids. So I sent out really practical resources that they could use. I sent out teaching guides. I issued a challenge every Friday, something like pick a passage of scripture as a family and memorize it together. I did 1 month of family Zoom meetings where we would all meet together, but then I would send additional resources so that families could take it deeper at home. But unfortunately, I didn't see a lot of moms and dads stepping up and leading their kids. Instead, I was left with a burdened heart and a new vision. So as I think towards reopening and planning out the next year, My challenge is, how can what I do on Sundays and Wednesdays put mom and dad in the driver's seat? My ministry before wasn't ineffective. I saw kids giving their life to Christ. I saw them growing in their relationship with Christ. But when I took the time to evaluate, God laid on my heart something new that needs to be happening. So I want you to think about these questions as you evaluate. What is your vision? Where do you want kids to be spiritually when they leave your ministry? What steps will you take to accomplish that vision? Does the curriculum you use line up with your vision and goals? Are there programs and events being planned with a purpose that helps you meet your vision and goals? Do any policies and procedures need to be updated or enforced? Is your volunteer recruitment, training, and retention meeting your expectations? Are there areas in your ministry that are weak and need improving? Are there areas that need updating? How are children and families responding to teachings, leaders, events, programs, and resources? Remember, just because something has always been done a certain way doesn't mean that it needs to continue to do so, especially if it's ineffective. So whether it's time for a change or not, evaluation is crucial to a healthy, thriving ministry, but it shouldn't be done alone. If you have a team, you need to get your team evaluating as well, and you need to get together and talk about it. Talk about it with your senior leadership. The children's ministry vision should align with the church's vision. But not just your team and not just your pastor. When you're evaluating, most importantly, you need to be seeking God's direction. He knows exactly where He wants your ministry to go. So you need to listen to the Spirit's leading above all else as you evaluate. So you've spent time evaluating and reflecting. Now what? Well, now's the time to plan and maybe to pivot. You need to get things going. So as you evaluated, what areas did you see that need a change? If you found that your curriculum was just not meeting your needs, now is a great time to check out some new companies and request some samples. Maybe you realize that your space is a little less than inviting for kids. So grab a roller, a can of paint, and start redecorating. Maybe you see a need, but you don't know how to solve it. Pick up a book, a magazine, talk to a mentor, ask people on the I Love Kidmin Facebook group. Now, some of you might be thinking that I'm a little crazy with this talk of extra time and schedules that are less packed. Some of you are busier now than you were when you were putting in a full week's work of office hours and in-person services. So your schedule might not have extra time to get all this stuff done. But, especially if you've not reopened your ministries yet, this is a really great time to make those changes, to update the room, to update policies, programs, and then start fresh when kids come back. From prayerful evaluation, you saw what needs to be changed. Now's the time to make a detailed plan of how to do that. Remember that a goal without a plan is just a wish. Break your goals into obtainable steps and then get started. Now, the third thing that you should be doing, you're serving in children's ministry because you love kids. So you need to make sure that you're connecting with kids and families this summer. Whether you have started back in-person services, or maybe you're in a part of the country that there is not an end in sight. You don't even have a date yet. So don't wait for the kids to come to you. Meet the kids where they're at and let them know that they are loved. Send a postcard in the mail. Make some phone calls. Drop by a gift or an ice cream at their house. Have groups of kids meet you in a park or in the church parking lot. Let your kids know that they are loved, even though this summer looks different. Remember that they are missing out on the things that they love, like camp and VBS, just as much as we are. Let them know that Jesus' love for them, and by extension your love for them, hasn't changed, even though summer has. As churches begin to reopen, kids are going to start to return. And these kids are going to be just as excited to see you as you are to see them. But not all of your kids are going to be back yet. There's going to be some that aren't ready. Maybe they have family members with health issues or elderly people living with them. They might not feel comfortable coming back yet. So you definitely want to make sure you're connecting with those families especially. But then let's face it. We all have families in our ministry that we feel won't come back or are going to be really slow coming back simply because they're out of the habit. These are your lukewarm families. And they need extra connection and communication from you. You need to make sure that you're letting these kids know that you miss them, and you're letting their moms and dads know what their family is missing out on by not coming back. This is also true with your volunteers. So if you've been on the I Love KidMin Facebook group recently, you've seen people posting that some of them have lost half, if not more, of their volunteers. If you have older volunteers, they might be concerned about coming back, and you just might have people that are out of the habit of coming back and serving. So connect with these volunteers, even if they're not serving again yet. And I challenge you to connect with them more than just a, I miss you, I wish I could see you soon, text or postcard. Really find out what's going on with them. It's been a stressful few months for people, and see how you can encourage or bless them. My associate youth minister, because I work with the youth and the kids, she has a very stressful job. She's in a county health department in a high position. It has been a rough couple of months for her. So I've been regularly praying for her. I've sent her a gift of chocolate and a devotion book just to encourage her. I've loved on her, and I've let her know that. It's important. Make sure you're encouraging and blessing your team. But this also goes for your staff members as well. No matter what your church is doing in regards to reopening, someone is not going to like it, and they're going to be really vocal about it. They're going to be mad that they're being forced to wear masks, or they're mad that no one is wearing masks. They're going to be upset that the air conditioning is on because it's spreading germs, or they need it turned on because it's too hot. They're going to be mad that you've opened too soon, or you've not opened soon enough. And your church staff is hearing about it, especially your senior leadership. The town that I live in is really amazing. We actually have a drive-in movie theater in our town. It's just minutes from our church. So for Easter, our church and about 7 others in the community, we're going to host a special drive-in Easter service. People were excited. The movie theater owners were amazing, and they were offering their facilities to these churches for free. Everyone was pumped. But then things changed. The weather forecast changed, and there was a 100% chance of heavy storms during service times. And then the health department that had given their seal of approval on these services came back and said, actually, no, we don't recommend this. It's not safe. 7 out of 8 churches, ours included, decided to cancel their Easter drive-in services. People weren't happy. Our associate pastor is the one who handles the church emails and communications. And he received a lot of harsh emails. Really harsh. Have you ever heard the phrase that no one ministers to the minister? It's true. I called him right after Easter because I knew he was going to be having a rough day. He doesn't like it when people are upset with him. And he got really harsh emails. So I called him just to check on him and see how he was doing. It meant the world to him and his wife, because no one else had reached out to him. He was having a really rough day. So check on your staff. Encourage them and love on them. You're a team. Make sure that you are doing your part to minister to your fellow ministers. All right, this last one is for parents, especially parents with young kids. Don't waste your summer with your kids. As a children's ministry leader, it's sometimes tough to find that balance between parent and minister. I don't get to walk my daughter to the nursery on Sunday mornings. My kids go without mom for a whole week while I'm at camp. And no one gets a home-cooked meal during VBS week. Some summers, I've got mom guilt. The work I'm doing is important. It is kingdom work. But then I turn around and summer is at an end, and I wonder what kind of memories did I make with my own kids? Well, the last 3 months worshiping at home with my family have been a blessing. Instead of going and working at the church, for the first time in my kids' lives, things have slowed down, and I get to worship as mom, not as Miss Amber. So we've started our Sunday mornings with a special breakfast. Instead of those slowpoke children being handed a Pop-Tart and shoved in the car so we're not late. And we sit and we learn together and we worship together. And sometimes we just linger at the table and we talk about Jesus. It became habit for us. So much that one Sunday morning, my 3-year-old, as she's getting ready, looks at me and says, "Do Jesus?" They liked this time with Mom and Dad. So we've started back with in-person worship, but the habit that we've created of worshiping together as a family is going to remain. We just have to get up a little bit earlier to make it happen. So I challenge you KidMin leaders with kids, don't waste this summer with your kids. Spend extra time playing together. Water balloons, sidewalk chalk, bubbles, read books. Spend extra time laughing together. Spend extra time worshiping God together. And you get to do it as mom or dad, not as a ministry leader. Last year was my son's first year at camp, and he loved it. And I was so glad that I got to be there and experience it with him. But though I was mom, I was still Miss Amber. Well, this summer, with no in-person camp, CentriKid Camp did an online worship experience. And it was so neat to get to do that as mom. He goes and he gets on his camp shirt from last year, and he snuggles up on the couch next to me. He's got his Bible open in his lap. He's taking notes on the worksheet. And then my 3-year-old comes in after her bath, and she snuggles on my lap, and she listens to the worship songs with us. I was so thankful for that experience that I got to have as mom, not Miss Amber. No one else needed my attention. I got to sit just with my kids. That has been such a blessing during this crazy few months of being more intentional to be mom first, to lead my kids as mom, not as Miss Amber. So don't waste that opportunity this summer, but don't let it just be this summer. Shamefully, I'm thinking to myself, why did you wait so long to be this intentional? Now, we talked about God, we prayed, we read devotions, all of that. But because there was no church, my husband and I were more intentional than we have ever been before leading our kids. And it's been amazing. And our kids have loved it and responded well to it, and they want more of it. So don't waste this summer with your kids. You get to be mom and dad first. This summer it looks different than any other summer that we have ever had before. And most of us, I think, all pretty much agree we wish there will never be another summer like this. We are mourning and missing the things that normally take up our time in summer, that make us exhausted, that take us away from our families. But just because we don't have all of those things doesn't mean that we get to check out or have a vacation. There is work to be done. There is good kingdom work that needs to be happening right now. Use the extra time, or if you don't have extra time, make a commitment. How can your ministry grow? What way does God want it to grow? Maybe you need to try something new. Maybe you need to practice puppetry or magic tricks. Maybe you need to go out on a limb and try something different with your online services. Or maybe there's something that you learned during the last few months that you need to figure out how to incorporate into your regular ministry when things go back to normal. What will your new normal look like? Read some books, talk to some people, make a commitment to learn. Maybe you need to work on your passion this summer. Maybe you're feeling burnt out or unsure. Maybe you're questioning your calling. Spend time with God. Spend time in His Word in prayer. Spend time renewing your passion and your spirit. Don't waste this summer. Work on kingdom work. Don't waste the time you've been given.